If there is a secret to successful power exchange, this video contains it. Follow along and see if you can tell us at the end.
Today we're going to cover all the really important concepts of power exchange. First, there's slave positions. Rebecca's going to demonstrate the 23 essential positions. Get up, get up, get up.
But I need a hug.
You need a hug? What do you mean I need a hug? We're here to focus on the fundamentals of power exchange. Collars, cuff, contracts, and chains.
I need some emotional reassurance.
Hi, I'm James Gordon.
And I'm Rebecca Dahl.
Welcome to VMAP. And that's our first concept. Power exchange isn't about collars or slave positions, though those things can be hot. 1. It's about meeting the needs of both parties.
In the mainstream world, we're sold a mythical Disney image of relationships in which each partner magically meets all the other's needs. That's not how real relationships work. It's not how any of this works.
It takes a good match and plenty of work to meet your partner's needs, whether they involve power exchange or not.
Someone told me the essence of slavery was to live for the other person's needs and not think of my own.
It can be gratifying to take care of another person. It can meet a lot of your needs, but if it doesn't, it won't work for you. That's an idea that works out of the box for a perfectly matched couple maybe one time in 100. This series is about real power exchange with the partner you have, not about yearning for some mythical partner that wants nothing in life but to serve you.
Or who makes you want to serve them that much. While some people are better about talking and negotiating their relationship needs than others, power exchange not only gives permission to negotiate over needs, it makes it a near necessity.
The core of power exchange is that one partner surrenders a great deal of authority or power in their life to the other. In return, they trust that they'll get their needs met.
This means that the top in a power exchange is responsible for knowing their own needs, knowing or discovering their partner's needs, and using the power they have been given to ensure that everyone's needs get met.
Welcome to our first two-part episode. This week, we'll look at what needs really are, and we'll begin looking at how to understand them by exploring a useful model that we think provides an excellent description of how needs work. The model we use has some serious science behind it, but even if you don't like it, the things it describes are real and worth understanding. Next week, we'll finish looking at our model of human needs, talk about counterintuitive needs, and finish by talking about some pitfalls that can undermine your power exchange dynamic. To start out, it helps to have an idea of what needs are.
We often want things we don't need, and sometimes our wants are the opposite of our needs.
It's an old adage that everyone's needs are different, but there are actually a lot of similarities across all humans. Because needs look so different,
you want Quinn to invite you to lunch, and I want to get campaign mode achievements on my game.
like most things, it's hard to get a handle on needs unless we can categorize them.
We tend to be resistant to that because it sounds a lot like putting people into boxes, and everyone feels their needs are special. In fact, most of us need mental tools that we can use to get a handle on this huge area and how our needs relate to our partners.
And, asshat alert, while not wanting to put people in a box sounds very sweet and touchy-feely, in many relationships it camouflages a game of needs one-upsmanship, where being vague about people's needs always means that my needs are more important than yours. Fortunately, there's a simple model we can use, and most needs fit into it.
In the middle of last century, psychologist Abraham Maslow proposed a pyramid of needs, which was improved on by respected Arizona State University psychologist and researcher Douglas Kenrick in his book Sex, Murder, and the Meaning of Life.
Kenrick and other psychologists also point out that while there's some prioritization, humans don't climb the pyramid in neat order.
For example, a human who doesn't have status or esteem may still focus on getting a partner. Here's our version of the pyramid, consolidated from the two past models. The basics: food, shelter, sex, safety, protection.
This one's fairly easy to understand, but note that sex isn't always the same as intimacy. There's a primal, physical need for sex. People may have intimacy with a long-term partner, but crave more or different sex, while people who get a lot of sex may still lack intimacy.
Our societal myth says that these needs should be met by the same person, but in fact there's no particular reason they have to be, though some people might prefer if they were.
A major pitfall occurs when we ignore the importance of basic needs. If one partner doesn't have a job and is reliant on the other for food or shelter, That creates a power imbalance.
A partner who lives rent-free and gets fed may balk at cooking, cleaning, being socially supportive, or being expected to be sexually receptive, saying they don't get anything because they automatically discount the necessities of life. Power exchange is ideal for understanding and negotiating this imbalance. We can actually say, I give you food and shelter, and in return you meet my needs for sex, and also help me present well in public, which enhances my social status, meeting my esteem needs.
Some people cringe at saying that because it reminds them of a 1950s-style marriage. The difference is that the partners choose the model, and there's no rule on which gender takes which role.
Unfortunately, all too often, we shamefacedly pretend that meeting basic needs doesn't count and talk around them. That's understandable because our society makes a big deal of being number one and has taught us to be ashamed of being only a sexual outlet or only a supporter. In fact, being a supporter is an important role.
That said, we don't suggest that most power exchange should be structured based on providing food and shelter for sex and esteem. Most power exchange involves complex interchange of esteem and affiliation needs. We just think basic needs have to be counted to arrive at a realistic exchange.
A problem is that real life doesn't always give us choices we'd like. We've seen younger submissive partners accept an MS relationship they weren't entirely comfortable with because the older partner was employed and supported them, and they felt trapped with no other options.
We've also seen an older partner lose the respect of a submissive because they became unemployed and could no longer provide basic needs.
In future episodes, we'll deal more with those problems. In the meantime, we have some advice. If you hold most of the cards in the relationship, you need to be very respectful of your partner's needs. Failing to meet your partner's needs because they aren't in a position to complain is abuse, and leads to resentment that is a virtual guarantee the relationship will explode as soon as they have other options. Belonging and affiliation.
Who has the friends in a relationship? Who's active in a social community, wins awards, or progresses at work? If both partners belong to groups that don't mix well, conflict can result.
She doesn't understand why he keeps his lowbrow buddies and doesn't embrace her artistic and educated friends, but he doesn't feel he belongs there. In a power exchange where one partner may have a veto on social activities, this needs to be discussed.
Really, most of these things need to be discussed in all relationships. It's just that they often aren't. Power exchange gives the top partner the authority to make a discussion happen. If it doesn't, and needs don't get met, that's the top's responsibility.
While a few loners may be happy in a club for two with their partner, and some partners with children are happy with their family as their social group, everyone needs some sense of belonging, and most people want to fit in socially, and get bitter if they don't.
One of the partners can offer entree into social groups and activities, but the other has to want to fit into those groups, and the partner that opens the door has to make sure they're accepted. That means not being too draconian and demanding about their behavior, out of fear they'll offend someone in the group.
Or demeaning them to score points with the social group by devaluing your partner. And, asshat alert, when your partner wants you to become friends with their friends and ditch your old friends, that may suck, but it's a normal relationship struggle. It's also common that people dating are between social groups and will need to enlist their partner to help discover a new one.
But when your partner wants to isolate you, that can be a big red flag. People who don't have social groups can be bitter, and when someone decides the way to have a social group is to capture a partner and keep them away from everyone else, there's usually enough bitterness and past social maladjustment to make it unhealthy, sometimes criminally abusive. In summary, see that while human needs may be generic, individual needs aren't. While everyone may have affiliation needs, if the social group you can offer acceptance into isn't one that your partner values or likes, you can't meet their need. That's why our model is a guide that can help you understand what's going on, but can't tell you how to meet your specific partner's unique needs. Status and esteem.
Everyone needs to be accepted, but most of us want more than that. People who seek the bottom role in power exchange sometimes do so because they have a hard time maintaining their own self-esteem and need a partner to take charge of it. Other people may seek a partner who adds to their esteem as everyone says, wow, look. It's important to sort through this.
We think that one thing that can help a lot with power exchange is to get rid of the cultural meme that if your partner doesn't love you for you, they're a phony. People have sex because of basic drives, and they form intimacy because their partner fits into the structure of their needs.
Wanting you for you is hoping that fit happens magically instead of working to make it happen, and that's not really a service to you or your partner. One thing people seek in a partner is esteem, and that's particularly true in power exchange, where controlling and caring for the bottom partner can be core to the top's esteem.
We've seen bad situations where one partner felt that displaying the other as a skilled slave in public was a great tribute, while the other loved slavery in the bedroom but felt public was objectifying and made them a trophy. There's no right and wrong, but power exchange gives you the freedom to negotiate and say, I want someone who will look good on my arm and is a good host, rather than, I will always accept you just as you are. Liking someone doesn't mean that they will meet your needs, and power exchange can mean asking hard questions.
We think it's great to have good intuition, but when you combine it with actually understanding what's going on in the relationship, we think you get better results.
We know you're anxious to get to the top of the pyramid, but we're going to take a break, and we'll be back next week with part 2 of needs. Thank you for joining us for part 1. Next week, we'll complete our climb up the pyramid and take a look at some counterintuitive needs, as well as discussing issues like resentment that can undermine your power exchange. For now, let's take a look at what we've learned this week.
Power exchange isn't about collars or slave positions. Even though those things can be hot, if both partners' needs aren't being honestly addressed, you're just setting up for resentment that may undermine your relationship. What makes power exchange different is that we understand those needs may not be the same for both partners. It's permissible to say, I will give you shelter if you meet my sexual needs or boost my esteem.
What are needs?
Needs are not wants. In fact, they can be the opposite.
Many times, being vague about needs because you don't want them labeled is a way of making sure you never have to prioritize them, and can enable a mindset where you feel your needs always trump those of others.
Modeling needs.
The pyramid of needs is a good model, as long as we understand that nobody starts at the bottom and works in order to the top.
We learned the pyramid starts with basic needs like sex and food, closely followed by safety and shelter.
We learned that failing to acknowledge when a partner provides basic needs can lead to unrealistic exchanges.
We discussed how most people have the need to belong, and that while some people make a social group of their immediate family, and others don't have a social group yet or want to change social groups, a partner who actually wants to isolate you is a dangerous red flag.
We learned that most people feel the need to be valued by their chosen peers, and discussed how power exchange can allow honest conversation about how one partner contributes to the other's status and personal esteem. Though honest conversation may show that both partners want different things and aren't really right for each other. For VMAP, this is James Gordon.
And this is Rebecca Dahl. Remember, there's no right way in power exchange.
Only your